we're going to talk about projection and moving into stereo projection, and then talk about corner pinning. And now the caveat being that stereo projection, you need to do the corner pinning inside of the projector itself. So the projector has to be the final image perspective correction. But when you want to send things over to other applications for corner pinning, you can't do stereo, at least with this methodology for right now. So kind of two separate workflows, but they build into each other. The first thing we're going to do is take a look at this map. This is a map of vortexes. So these are things that would be very compelling with depth sensors and stereo glasses. Right? So things that are moving in towards the camera that have a lot of depth range. Right? So we'll just utilize this demo from the marketplace and build around that. So a few things. First of all, if you want to just project, you can obviously add a projector, and then the projector can be your second screen. In the case of this, because we're recording a screen demo, I'm going to just duplicate the screen that I have and say that whatever you're seeing on the screen recording is what I'm projecting, just to make it simplified. So we're not having to do multiple windows and pictures like that. So the first thing to do with projection would be to play, and then F11 is full screen, right? So this would go to the projector. We're seeing some things we need to resolve. We have a taskbar. So let me Alt tab out of here, get my mouse back, and get rid of this window down here. And then if I right click in my taskbar settings, I have taskbar behaviors. And I could say automatically hide the taskbar. That's if I'm using this main window that has my start menu and everything, and my task bar or task menu. Or if I'm using a second window, I can say don't show taskbar on all displays, and then I can keep my taskbar on my main work surface, my main computer screen, so that I can have it for utility and then not have to worry about seeing the taskbar. But for right now, I'm going to automatically hide, and that gives me finally my full screen image. Right now, this and come back out of full screen, and this sequencer doesn't loop, so we're going to make it loop, and definitely so it can continue to work. So now F11, and then this we projected. And if my projector has its own corner pinning, I can do any perspective correction that I might need. Now we're going to do stereoscopic projection. The computer handles the conversion of my image to the glasses that we have. They're active glasses that'll be alternating shutter speeds per glasses, so the right eye can see what the right eye would see, and the left eye could see the left eye would see. So we need to give it two cameras that are essentially our eyeball distances apart, which is around 64 centimeters. There are two objects we're going to take a look at before we get that far first. The first is called a scene capture. This is a camera. Looks like a camera, quacks like a camera. But you'll see down here you have the option of being orthographic. Orthographic meaning that it is flat projection. This is actually how it by default is. And now in 5.3 we have perspective. So it's like a traditional camera. And then underneath here you'll see another thing. Again, this is not a cinematic camera. This is just a game camera. So we don't have all those focal length settings and stuff. Because what it's supposed to do is go to a texture target. Right? So this is supposed to render to something that I can grab and put into blueprints. And we're going to make two of these we put together for our left and right eyeball. I don't need this for right now. The other element we need is something called a widget. This is a new kind of blueprint that's used for making menus. It puts something to your screen. It's like the last render pass on your screen. And just like how when you hit the menu button, the menu will come above all the items that are actions that are happening inside your scene. So we go to blueprints. I'm going to right click, and then user interface, widget blueprint. There we go. BP menu. And this menu, we open it up. It's more of a, this is also called UMG for Unreal Motion Graphics. This is more about organizing images and buttons and things you put inside of a menu. We're going to be doing a 1920 by 1080 because the other component worth mentioning is that I'm going to be, for stereoscopic projection, you need to be in HD. Anything above HD won't work. So there's limitations in resolution. So I am indeed in HD, 1920 by 1080. And that's because I'm duplicating my screen. Again, if my second screen, which was a projector, I can have my main screen be whatever resolution I want to, as long as my second screen was HD. So again, my menu going to go to the screen is going to be HD. So there's a quick little preset for 1920 by 1080. And then if we add in a canvas, it just gives us a 1920 by 1080 outline that we can then work with. Cool. I would want to put something in here, so let's add in an image on the canvas panel. Right now you see it kind of make it drag and fit. You can absolutely type in things. I want this to be 1920 by 1080. Right now we're dealing with absolute pixels. But you can also make it percentages, and therefore it will scale. Right now it would scale from this top left, this would scale from the center, this would scale from the bottom right. Where do you want this menu to scale from? Not the greatest interface, but has a lot of power. So here we go, we have a thing called a brush. The brush is a chance for us to choose an image. I don't have anything preloaded. Let's just say this. Give it a second to figure it out. There you go. So I have some sort of image, not the greatest one. Let's see what else we got. This would actually be a good time to talk about projector calibration or perspective correction. So I'm going to open up a browser window. And we can just do a simple Google image search. We can look for projection grid. And these things could be quite useful for making sure that our projector is in alignment. Right, so just make sure that this is absolutely 1920 by 1080. We want to make sure we're doing images, 1080p. Great. So these are great too. That one's not HD. I'm sure it would scale to HD, but we want to make sure that we're doing exactly HD. Nope. 1280 by 720, nice for, thanks for trying. Projection grid, 1920 by 1080. So this one looks cool. There we go, finally. Save image as, put it in my downloads, PNG, fine. So now, let's dock this. And then in my content browser, I have a folder for materials. I usually put textures and materials for right now. You can make a separate folder for textures if you're making a lot of your own custom textures. But otherwise, I find that to be an unnecessary extra step. So I'm just going into my downloads, finding that image, uploading it. Great. And so now back in my menu, I can get rid of, I don't want to search for things that are within my engine, or I don't want things that are in my, turn them off. And now make it a lot easier to find the things that I want that are in my project. And it's called, there we go. Now this will go full screen. So how do you add this in? I'm going to say, I'm going to open up my level blueprint. And then I've already added actually this, but I can quickly delete it and do it from scratch. I'm going to do spacebar. So I can hit spacebar and the menu will come up. And then I hit spacebar and the menu will go away. So that's called a flow control node called flip-flop. And then we need to create the widget because the widget doesn't exist in the level. So we need to create it. Or if you just type in widget, I think there's not many blueprints dealing with widgets. So get all widgets of class, add widget, create widget, there we go. We called this one BP menu. And then we can get this value if we want to promote to a variable and grab it later on. That is our menu. So we can reference it and say, I have a menu and I want to get rid of a menu. All right. This is actually the node we need next, but I'll find it from scratch. If we compile, we can get context sensitive nodes. I'm going to say add to viewport. Boom. But then also when I hit it again, I want to remove it. So let's grab this menu, get menu, and say remove from parent. Why did I say add to viewport and remove from parent? I don't know. Why would those be consistent? We'll just have to keep in mind that they are not. If you double click on these, any wires in Unreal, you can bring out these little reroute nodes to organize them any way you want. And now spacebar will bring it to screen. Also play. Spacebar, there it is. But I'm not in F11 mode, so it's not really fitting right. Boom. Now I have a full screen image, and I can do my perspective correction from this image from Unreal. But we want to get stereoscopic in there. But we have two concepts which now help feed that. Spacebar to go away. Oops. There we go. Let's just prove that it comes and goes. There we go. Goes. Great. So let's add in these cameras. And we're going to make a blueprint because we know we're going to combine items together. So this is a new blueprint class. It needs to take over the screen. I think the easiest way to do that is to make it a pawn. BP projection pawn. And then in here, we're going to grab some of those off the default scene root. We're going to grab two of those scene capture cameras. Scene capture 1. And then the same thing, scene capture 2. One could be our left, rename, left cam. And this is our right cam. So I already said that our eyes are by default, 64 centimeters. We can add show control to this to finesse it, and just like a hardware, like a VR headset has a hardware knob on it to adjust interpupillary distance. We could do that with show control, sending max to these two cameras. I won't go too far into that, but I do have examples if you want to see it. But the Unreal Engines or units are centimeters, not millimeters. So instead of being 64 centimeters apart, they're going to be 6.4 centimeters apart, which means the one on the left cam, needs to be negative 3.2, and the one on the right will be positive 3.2. Not much, but it's enough. Perspective 90 degrees. Field of view is also something we can play around with if we wanted to adjust this and play around with making it wide angle or more telephoto. We just have to make sure that we're adjusting that in real time, and we can do that in show control. And I do have an example that I prepared. I just think it's too much for this demo at this time. Maybe if we do another projection week, we'll get to it. Great. So you can also put the add to viewport stuff in this blueprint. That way, no matter where you put this camera, it'll fit. I was having issues with it receiving input from my spacebar. It definitely works with OSC very easily. Let's leave it at the level for right now. I can always copy this information and put it in there. Just need to make sure that it's working later on. You can't copy paste variables, so I have to remake the variable. When I compile, there it is. They both exist, and there's no compilation errors. Just for right now, this won't. I haven't been able to get the input to work. Input meaning my key presses. Cool. We already have a camera in here. from before. This sequencer already had one. I don't need it. I can get rid of it. It's being spawned in. There you go. We just need to make sure that the camera cuts. You can see it. There we go. Great. So we have our two cameras, and they're going to textures. Where are the textures down here? We can create them from inside of here. So let's say, make me a render target, assets, materials, and I've already made a couple, but let's make it from scratch. Just say left eye on the left one, and the right eye can be right eye. Cool. And now let's go back to this. Let's go find those textures. Left eye texture. It's only 256 by 256, so let's increase the resolution of that. So the resolution of the scene capture camera depends on what the texture it is rendering to is. And we're going to make these side by side. So the projector can either take top bottom, side by side, or interleaved frame. So you can alternate frames. I'm going to go for left right eye. So this image right here would actually be half of this. It would be 960 by 1080. And then we would make another one, duplicate, that would be the same thing, but starting at 960. Again, this is absolutes. So let me go ahead and make our images correct. So 960, right? That's half of HD. 960 for side by side by 1080. Right eye. Also 960 by 1080. Save all this work in case it crashes. And then we don't need these anymore. Don't need that anymore. Come over to, let's make sure we're not double dipping for right now. That'll be fine. And let's replace these images. If I'm selecting here left, context sensitive, I have left. And then right, bring in the right. Compile and save. And so now I need to bring this camera into the world. Go for projection pawn, bring it in, and then let's pilot it real quick. Oh my goodness, it's terrifying. Super cool. Very confused as to where I am. Let's eject. I was going the wrong direction. Let's pilot. It's because I already erased the camera from before, otherwise I would just put it where that was. Great. Now eject. And there it is looking in there. What are these numbers? Okay, 0, 0, 0. To make it easier to take a look at, we can also add a, because it is a pawn, we can add a root regular camera. Just camera. That these are kind of parented to. And that way I can look at it this way. I feel like that's kind of wonky. Oh well. That's good enough for right now. I want to put it in the center there. Great. And then in my sequencer, I can add it in. Camera cuts. And pawn. So I'm locked in. Here we go. Ah. So it moves it. That's why everything was funky. Let's zero these out. Zero these out. Rotate 180 degrees. Move it back. That makes a lot more sense. A lot more sense. Great. Cool. Solve that problem. So let's see what happens when we go full screen and hit spacebar. So F11. So now we see these slightly converted left and right eyes. And then if we hit the 3D button on the projector, they literally have a 3D button on the either one of them has it on the projector itself, the other one has it on the remote. It splices them, puts them on the screen, and they work with our active glasses that we have. Cool. So that's the first way of projection mapping, is doing it full screen on our own screen. But sometimes we need to do perspective correction, and we don't have, especially less expensive projectors, don't have corner pinning. We want to get corner pinning somewhere else. For that, we're going to use something called Spout. Spout is the Windows version of Siphon, Siphon being a project coming from IDM back about 15 years ago, and it's a way of sharing computer graphics across applications. And it's very powerful. It does it across a graphics card. It's very performative. It doesn't really hurt your computer that much. I've done some pretty elaborate things, sharing it from one application to another application, from another application, and then you keep on adding effects based off of what application is good at doing what, right? So there's some really cool things, like you can play game emulators, and those game emulators can say, can send it to over Spout or Siphon to like your projection mapping stuff. Like there's a lot of cool things. So a few things I put links for already for you. Spout. This is a free plugin, and it is a way you download it. I put it in my documents. So download, download, download. Go to GitHub. And this is a folder with some stuff. Just do this one right here. I usually keep this in my documents folder. So, documents, Spout. And then the most important things are, sometimes you have to go into the panel first, and, not the panel, sorry, the settings first, and change some of the settings based off of your computer. I'm leaving everything default. And then it has these cool things called Spout Sender and Receiver. And these, again, are a way of sending textures and receiving textures. This one, the sender, I'm actually do receiving first. So receiving, there's no sender detected. But if I open up sender, then all of a sudden they see each other. You see our frame rate is pretty good, right? And then at 640 by 360, if I adjust the sender, you see that it adjusts the receiver, right? So it's seeing this live update. It's not just playing back two videos that are synced. It's sending this texture across these two applications. So I don't need this sender, but what we're going to use is a thing called Off-World Live Unreal. And it's a streaming kit for sending Spout and NDI. NDI is worth using if you're sending it between computers on a network. Right now we're sending it from our computer to our computer, so we're going to use Spout. Go ahead and go to the download center. You have to make a login. Tell them you're using it for free. Get it for the Unreal Engine version you want, and download and install it. For this, you also want to install the Spout plugin for OBS. We're going to use OBS lightly in here to show a little bit of quick color corner pinning. We can also do this in Max, but it's a little bit more elaborate, and I figured this is enough for today's demo. So we'll do it in Spout to OBS for right now. Install both of those. I already have. And then once you come back to Unreal, and you turn it on, right? Make sure you go to your window or your plugins and you find it, turn it on, restart, and then now you have this window right here. And we can look at all the options, but it has a great little live stream wizard. So I'm gonna we could do a Cinecam, right? And this would be a camera in our world. We can have 5 cameras, and those 5 cameras can all send out, right? So let's say Cinecam, and we're gonna do Spout, and we're gonna call this one 01. And then it's gonna create 2 objects in our world. One is the camera capture, and it's sending it to a texture, just like our scene captures did before. And see how it's live updating that texture? So this is actively sending to Spout. The other thing it's giving us from this live stream wizard is this manager, and the manager's taking into account all the senders in the scene and giving us some settings of which ones we're sending, which ones we're not sending, and giving them names that we can use so we can find later on. Let's, for testing, just create another one real quick. So another Cinecam, Spout, and we'll call this one 02. Create. And we're done with the wizard for right now. And we have 2 cameras that are sending. And our live stream now sees both of them, right? Because you're using the wizard. We could turn them off if we don't want to be, they do use resources. So we could turn them off if we're not using them. And let's go ahead and get out of here so we can find them. So they have a unique color bar at the top, so it's easy to see them in your scene. And we can move around just to make sure they're different things. So as you're already seeing, this could be a way of doing left-right stereo projection with corner pinning and stuff. We're just not there yet. Oops, that was the wrong one. Take this one. Yeah, we're not going to do multiple projectors just yet, but you get the idea. That we have one that's looking sideways and one that's looking forward. And if we go over to our Spout receiver, we see the names. Right-click, you can see the names, but we're not getting any information. This took me a little while. I got a little stumped. If we go to those textures for our cameras, I found out that it was sending. If you log in, I'll remove this watermark. Let's go back over here. Log in. There you go. Great. Come back here. Watermark's gone. Right now we're sending this RGBA. So it has an alpha, and I think the alpha's getting in the way. I tried a few, but ultimately just sending it the highest quality is what worked. So I sent 10-bit, and it worked. So let's go to the other one. Also send it the highest quality. Why wouldn't you want to send it the highest quality, right? Save all. Great, and now if we go back to our Spout receiver, you see them, right? And then you can see that there's settings. Sorry, I do that. You see that there are settings right here, so we can record in here. So this is a great way of doing screen recording. And then we can also go full screen by hitting F. All right, so F goes full screen. And again, this is another way of going full screen without having to do a widget blueprint. Cool. But Spout unfortunately doesn't have corner pinning. I think that they did add it. That'd be great because that'd be all we could possibly need, and that'd be the lightest weight way of doing things. But we are using OBS here, and now I'm using it to record the class, which was the issue why I'm having to re-record this from scratch, is because I messed around with my scene and I stopped recording it. So the scene was destroyed. I switched over to another one, and I was recording a black screen, so I do it again. So here's what I'm recording. It has my input history, and it has my display capture. We're going to add we installed a spout for OBS, and now you see I have a spout capture. So now you see I can see either of these scenes. I'm going to make it smaller so you can see the other stuff I'm doing. Great. All right, so not to get too confusing, this is what I'm seeing and recording, and I have my spout texture in the very top. I can add another one. And then do the other one. Cool. So now I'm getting all these textures to OBS from Unreal. You can also send out. So if I go to spout output settings, I can send out this entire texture to go back into Unreal if I want to create an infinite loop or send it to another process. And the last thing I want to show you is that you can run scripts. Scripts. I've installed one called Corner Pin. I found it on the OBS. Everything on OBS is free, so I found the OBS thing, downloaded it. This is a way of corner pinning. Just download from here. And to install it, I said add. This is where it's looking for. I just went to my downloads and dragged it into this folder so that I don't know where this is. I don't want us to go find this. So I was able to add it here, select it, and now it's one of my scripts. And now when I right click, I can add a filter. What filter? Corner pin. And I can start doing perspective correction. Cool. Or if I want to bring in my grid to project first, I can bring in an image. Find that on my downloads. Make it full screen. If I want to make it full screen, and then corner pin this. Corner pin. Cool. So super powerful, lightweight, running from my laptop. And the last thing I do was to say right click, and then you can project it to full screen. So I can put this full screen onto another projector. So I can have 5 projectors. I have 5 sources, and I can have each one of these going to their own one, right? So this is really powerful to send it. Now, of course, my canvas right here is only HD, so these images are less than HD. So I'm sending sub HD images. If I were to get an 8K monitor, run this 8K monitor, I can have a bunch of HD images that I'm sending to a bunch of projectors. So you have to make sure your canvas is your limitation for your pixels. My canvas is only HD because that's what my desktop is right now. But cool. And I turn them off. I don't really need them. And that gets us into corner pinning. We can also do this in Max, and we'll do it later on. There's a spout object inside of Max, and then it has corner pinning built into that. Great. Hopefully that all worked out, and we saw everything. So cool. All right.